Alright, got a kind of impromptu video for y'all. Also, a bit of a personal one, but you guys seem to like these kind of videos, so maybe you'll like this one. I don't know. I find it super interesting. As you can tell from the title, this is advice from 18-year-old me. And I just find this really interesting for a couple of reasons, which I will get to. For some backstory, this week I had a birthday. I know, go me for being alive and for my parents doing the dirty, all that good stuff. It's kind of a big birthday for me and I wanted to do something special. So I've had this letter that I wrote when I was 18 for my future self. And I was supposed to read it 2 years ago, because that would have been about 10 years after I originally wrote it. Yes, I just turned 30. But I didn't want to read it 2 years ago because I thought I knew generally what the letter contained. And because of what I thought the contents were, I just didn't really want to read it 2 years ago. I'll explain why. But now that I'm 30, I thought it would be fun to write a new letter to my future self. So I read the old one yesterday and it was not what I expected. Let me tell you, it was not what I expected. So, for context, when I was 18, I was a very different person, as we all are. I wrote this before I went off to college for my freshman year, and at the time I was very focused on school goals, career goals. I guess not that many things have changed. I wanted to work for the CIA, so that's what I was focused on at the time. And I was different in terms of not being super emotionally open about things. I never wanted to be in a relationship. If you asked me when I was 18 if I wanted to get married, I would have said nope, absolutely not. Also had no desire to have kids. It's just not on my radar. I was so uncomfortable with being emotionally vulnerable. I would like guys and I would talk to them and hang out with them, but then if there was even a little teeny tiny hint that things would become something more, I would dip so quickly. I would ghost guys. I was the worst. I was such a little coward about things. I didn't even like hugging my friends. It made me uncomfortable. It made my palms sweaty. I was not a weirdo, but I had this like super thick wall up all the time. I was still really friendly and outgoing, but I was just not emotionally open. So I thought, I could have sworn that when I wrote this letter, I assumed that I had achieved whatever career goals that I wanted, and I wanted to tell my future self, it's okay, you should be open to having a relationship with someone. You should get married, you should have a family, and all that jazz. And obviously, if you guys have been following me on YouTube or wherever else, you'll know that I got married at a young age and it didn't work out so well. So 2 years ago, I hadn't been divorced for that long, and I didn't want to read the letter because I felt like it would be kind of cringy, you know, because I would have just read it and thought, younger me had no idea what was going to happen in the future. I just had this like idealized view of what a relationship would be for me, which I obviously did because I got married only like 3 years after I wrote this friggin' thing. But It's 2019. My marriage isn't such a sore subject for me anymore. So yesterday, I opened the letter, I read it, and it is not at all what I thought it was. Not at all. It's weird. If I had read this 2 years ago when I was supposed to around my birthday, it would have been so spot on to how I was feeling at that point in time. It would have been such good advice for me. It honestly blows my mind. And I don't know if I was just like 18 and trying to be wise and it was a huge coincidence that it was just like really spot on to how I was feeling 10 years later, or if I was just possessed when I wrote it and wrote something completely different than what I had thought I had written. But anyway, this is the letter. I find it super interesting. You guys might find it interesting. It's still kind of good advice, but oops, pretty crazy to me. So anyway, here's my letter from little old me to older me. I wrote this on August 16th of 2007. Yes. Dear me, as I write this now, I can only imagine what you have experienced up to this point in your life. I can only hope for the best for you. I hope you are doing what you love, no matter what it is. I don't know if your aspirations will change, but always keep a goal in mind. I hope you are happy, and I hope, most of all, that my letter reaches you before you are gone. Now for my words of wisdom. Do not be discouraged. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of failure or rejection. It will only make you stronger. Try your hardest to attain your dream, even if it is impossible. Try and fail if you have to, but I know that you won't fail. I believe in you, even if there is no one left who does. Accept help. It does not mean that you are weak. Just don't give up. Do it. It is not in you to give up. I know there will be barriers in your way. They will always be there. You just have to fight them. Do what you love. Don't be afraid. Never give up. All the best. P.S. Try not to forget the ones you love. So apparently 18-year-old me knew what the fuck was up, what the fuck was gonna happen. Because at this point, I had just moved to this area. I really didn't have friends still. I had gone back to school, but I was still like struggling. I was super depressed. I wanted to give up. Honestly, like shortly after my birthday in 2017, I went to a psychiatrist to get help for my depression because it was so bad. And it blows my mind. It absolutely blows my mind that 28-year-old me refused to read this when it was the most spot-on advice I could have received. It's so interesting. It's interesting. But let me know what you guys think about that. What would you give it as advice to your future self? Because I don't even know what I'm gonna write for my next letter, because apparently I black out when I write these things and give the most like prophetic spot on advice, or maybe it's just a huge coincidence. I don't know. I'm really messed up over this letter, but I think it's really cool. Anyway, that's what I have for you guys today, and I will see you all next time.